Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to Hidden in Plain Sight.
Hidden in Plain Sight is an initiative to help parents spot signs of risky behavior. The focus is on being able to recognize signs of substance use and being aware of the easy access points in your home and in a student's car. We will walk you through a 360-degree view of a teenager's bedroom and car. These locations contain items signaling that a young person might be involved in risky activities. Parents and guardians can learn how to spot the warning signs, how to prevent easy access to alcohol and other drugs, what to do when you find a substance, and get tips for communicating with your teens.
This event is brought to you by the Bismarck Police Department, the Bismarck Police Youth Bureau, the Bismarck Public Schools, and Bismarck Burley Public Health Substance Abuse Prevention Program. Before we begin, just a couple housekeeping rules. After both locations, the bedroom and the car, we will pause and take questions through the chat box, which is at the bottom of your screen, and it says chat. Your microphone has been muted and will remain so for the duration of the webinar. So let's begin with our panelists. I'm Sue Kaler, the Substance Abuse Prevention Coordinator at Bismarck Burley Public Health.
Angie Ettinger, Assistant Principal with Bismarck Public Schools.
Lieutenant Luke Gardner, Director of Juvenile Services for Bismarck Police Department.
Travis Rao, one of the police youth workers.
Deirdre Horner, a youth worker at the Police Youth Bureau.
And I'm Jordan Schaefbauer, Tobacco Prevention Specialist at Bismarck Burley Public Health.
Within the Police Youth Bureau, the youth workers and school resource officers are trained and have years of experience understanding and recognizing signs of risky behavior and substance use with students. It is important to trust your students, but it is also equally important to have a clear picture of what is going on in their lives. The role of the Police Youth Bureau is to educate, support, and divert at-risk youth ages 10 to 17 from the juvenile justice system. The process involves referrals from schools, parents, law enforcement, and other community partners. We aim to provide a continuum of services that instill a sense of responsibility for their actions and provide a positive direction for their future. We achieve this through innovative programming and interventions that include education, accountability, and individualized attention and development of the youth's competencies and skills.
Lieutenant Gardner will begin with a walkthrough scene of a teenager's bedroom. If you have questions, type them into the chat box and we will address them at the end of this segment.
All right, now that everybody's met everyone, we're going to go over the teenager's room first. I'm sure a lot of teenagers' rooms look this clean. But we're going to start with a hat, this backpack, and then another little hide over here that law enforcement is starting to see more and more. I'll kind of explain more about them as we go along. These containers come in many shapes and sizes, brands, and types. It is always a good idea to turn the tops of containers and bottoms of containers located in a bedroom. These containers can hold a lot of drugs, vapes, paraphernalia, and tobacco products. So that was just a peanut butter can for an example, but they make them in Mountain Dew cans, cleaning products, numerous different types of products for people to hide things in. Here's a hat with a little hidden compartment in it.
Some retailers are trying to constantly come up with ways to sell products for nefarious purposes. Seen here is a baseball cap that has a hidden compartment within the padding that goes around your head. It is commonly used to hide illegal substances.
And here's a backpack.
Similar to the No Bad Ideas baseball hat, this is another product that is commonly used at school and to hide illegal products. Please ensure that you are inspecting the backpack by sight and feel. This is a good way to discover hides within a backpack.
So these two articles of clothing, the backpack and the hat, those can be purchased in Bismarck at Lids or Spencer's or different stores in Kirkwood Mall. So just be on the lookout for them. The reason I wanted to show you those again is there's meth hidden in the peanut butter jar, marijuana hidden in this cap, and a prescription bottle hidden in this backpack. It's important to make sure that you're checking for hidden compartments when checking your teenager's gear. Now I'm just going to click through some of this other stuff and kind of let you guys see how interactive this is, and know that you can find it at the City of Bismarck's website under Bismarck Burley Public Health, Substance Abuse, and Hidden in Plain Sight. Marijuana is still considered the gateway drug and is common among the youth in the community. It is very pungent. Oftentimes, people will use incense, deodorant sprays, and other items to mask its scent.
Opioids are highly addictive and are dangerous because overdose and death are common. It's important when you're done using opioids to properly dispose of them at a take-back site, such as a local pharmacy or the police station. Kids have access to these through the medicine cabinet or their friends.
These pipes come in many shapes, sizes, and colors. If used to smoke marijuana, there'll be a black tar-like residue in the bowl and will smell like marijuana.
Meth can come in many forms. It can come in a powder-like substance, glass shard-like substance, and even dyed to be different colors. Meth is a nervous system stimulant and will cause a rapid pulse, elevated blood pressure, big pupils, and excited or exaggerated movements.
THC wax is a substance that's becoming more prevalent. It can be used in cooking, smoking, and vaping.
There are a lot of drawings and references that we see. It is recommended that you page through your child's notebook found in bedrooms so you know what they are doodling, drawing, and writing. This can give insight into their activities.
It's important to monitor and properly store your alcohol and to have a conversation with your child about underage drinking. Beer pong and other drinking games can lead to binge drinking and alcohol poisoning. If you find these items, take time and have a conversation with your children about binge drinking. It can lead to serious long-term health problems and other consequences.
Vapes come in many different shapes, sizes, and bright colors. Individuals have modified them to vape nicotine and other drugs. It can be hard to tell whether it's nicotine in the vape or another substance.
Okay, so that's the bedroom. We will stand by for a few minutes to see if there's any questions in the chat box and try our best to answer those questions for you. Then we'll move on to the vehicle.
So there is one question in the chat box.
Everybody's met everyone. We're going to go.
Go ahead, Jordan.
What will happen if a student is caught with an illegal substance at school?
I can answer that. This is Angie Ettinger, assistant principal. Two things will happen. One, obviously, we have a no tolerance policy on any Bismarck Public Schools property that would include football games and fields and extracurricular activity type things. But if it should happen at school, it would involve the school resource officer as well as administration. If it was an illegal substance, a vape, marijuana, cigarettes, pills, anything like that, there would be an automatic suspension of some sort. There's some flexibility, and I try to weigh heavily on this is when students are respectful or they're cooperative, pretty upfront and open and honest about the situation. I think there's some flexibility in there, whether it's how long of a suspension or maybe even where the suspension is. And even when we bring in our school resource officer, sometimes we may do just a referral to PYB. Sometimes if they're not cooperative, it might be a citation, but know that there's two aspects in that, like our school side of things as well as the legal side of things as well.
Thank you, Angie. We will move on to the car.
All right, everyone, let's get started on the car here. In the car, we got 7 items that are hidden in plain sight. As you can see, it's another interactive based website that has numerous different things and places hidden. I'm going to start off with this Mountain Dew can that I was talking about in the bedroom.
These containers come in many shapes and sizes, brands, and types. It is always a good idea to try to turn the tops and bottoms of containers located in a car. These containers can hold a lot of drugs, vapes, paraphernalia, and tobacco products.
So as you can see, this is just another version of a stash can that we see often out on the street. Inside of that stash can is a marijuana pipe.
These pipes come in many shapes, sizes, and colors. If this is used to smoke marijuana, there'll be a black tar-like residue in the bowl and will smell like marijuana.
This is a commonly used item when it comes to smoking marijuana. You could pack a lot of marijuana in the dugout and use the one hitter. It is easily concealed and can come in many different looks.
Mods and tanks have the potential to explode or malfunction if not properly stored, charged, or incorrect batteries are used. These products can be modified to vape nicotine, marijuana, and other drugs.
Marijuana grinders are usually similar in size but come in many different colors. If one takes a cap off, you will see spikes. The marijuana goes on the spikes and is twisted to grind the marijuana. It then falls through the holes as a very fine leaf-like substance. Meth is commonly smoked, but it's important to remember that it can be snorted and taken intravenously through a needle. Be on the lookout for razor blades, snort tubes, and needles as well.
Underage drinking is dangerous and illegal. They can be arrested for DUI, minor in possession, or physically hurt someone or themselves when they're drunk. Take time to visit with your child about the harmful effects and consequences of drinking.
Again, this is a very interactive video system and can be located at Bismarck Burley Public Health's website under their substance abuse prevention and hidden in plain sight. We will now take questions based on what you've seen in the car and so far throughout the presentation.
I have another question in the chat. Can a parent legally search through their child's room, car, or cell phone?
Hey, this is Lieutenant Gardner. I can take that question. So a child living in your home has no right to privacy in their belongings based on the fact that they're your belongings. You bought them, most of the stuff that you bought for them, or they're living under your roof. They're not paying rent, that kind of thing. I'm not telling you to not trust your kids or to go ransack their rooms every night, but when you have that sixth sense that something's going on in their life, it's not a bad idea to check their rooms and their cars. Thank you.
Luke, one more question for you that I got. What is the difference between juvenile arrest and a juvenile referral?
All right, so one of the goals of the Bismarck Police Department and the juvenile justice system as a whole is to keep kids out of the juvenile justice system. One of the ways that we do that is called a juvenile referral, where, if a teenager or kid between the ages of 10 and 17 hasn't had a lot of interaction with law enforcement, hasn't committed any crimes, and it's their first time committing some sort of crime, they can get referred right to the Bismarck's Police Youth Bureau, and that's a juvenile referral. A juvenile citation would be an actual arrest where a document would get filled out and sent up to the juvenile court, and the juvenile court would deal with that situation. Or the juvenile court might actually refer them back down to Police Youth Bureau, again, based on prior history and things of that nature.
Thanks, Luke. Another question that just popped up. What do you do if you find illegal things in kids' possessions?
Well, we have a slide on that if you want to click one. All right, so it's illegal to possess illicit drugs. If you as a parent find illegal drugs in the possession of your child, you can contact BPD and we will come get them. The drugs will be entered into evidence and disposed of properly. The officers will ask who the drug belonged to and may have further questions. It's a good way to get your child involved with Bismarck Police Youth Bureau. Our goal, again, is to divert youth from the juvenile courts and justice system to alleviate a juvenile court record. We do this by using our innovative continuum of services. So make sure that you ask about Police Youth Bureau. Again, the whole goal is not to get illegal drugs into the hands of others. So we have a way of disposing of them properly. And it's always best for us to pick them up. I would I would advise that you would call Bismarck PD to come pick them up. If you live in Bismarck, if you live outside in the county, then you would have to call the Burley County Sheriff's Department. But we would come pick them up. I advise against driving here because if you get pulled over, there could be a chance that, you know, an officer finds that those illegal drugs, and it's just better for us to come to you than you to come to us. Thanks for the question.
Building off of what you just said, how does PYB come involved in with your child and your family?
This is Travis with the one of the youth workers. Typically, families will get involved with us through several different ways. One, of course, is through a citation. Child has violated some law and receive a juvenile citation. A lot of times juvenile court will divert those cases to us, especially when we're talking those misdemeanor type offenses and it possibly being like a first, second, or a third time offense for that child. A lot of times we would get those cases versus the child or the family having to go through juvenile court. Other options, kind of what building off what Lieutenant Gardner has already spoke about, is those referrals, whether it's from school or whether it's even by a parent. If a parent is kind of lost and is struggling or feels like they've maybe tried all the avenues that they have to their access, they can certainly call us. We can talk it through on the phone, give you some options on the phone. Sometimes families want to bring their child in and we can meet with them, face to face and have a conversation. Sometimes they need to hear it from another voice. But certainly walking them through and letting them know what kind of consequences they could be facing if this continues. Especially involving any kind of drug, alcohol, or tobacco type offense. So a lot of times it's, typically a citation or a referral, but, like I said, a lot of times parents can certainly call on their own instead of waiting for the child to either get in trouble or, through law enforcement or through the schools. So.
Thank you, Travis. So we have another question in the chat box. It's what is the legal age to use e-cigarettes and vape products? Jordan?
Really good question. So the legal age to purchase and possess e-cigarettes, vape products, or actually any tobacco product, you need to be 21 years or older. And this changed within the last couple of years. But just remembering 21 or older, just like alcohol, is how old you need to be. Really good question.
Thanks, Jordan. We have one more in the chat box for you. It says, or for you or someone else, it says, what are the schools actively doing about vaping in the schools? Do they offer programs for kids that get into trouble for it?
This is Angie, assistant. I can go first a little bit and then I'll let you wrap up, Jordan. But
okay,
from a school standpoint, I think we really try to be preventative versus reactive, right? So with our even some of our social emotional learning that kids get kindergarten through 12th grade, because a lot of times you see kids trying to self-medicate, whether it's with tobacco or marijuana. So through a lot of our social emotional learning, as far as being preventative, we have had our school resource officers come in and just educate kids on the ramifications of specifically vaping. I think kids somehow have this perception that it's not as bad because it doesn't smell horrible. We kind of joke that it smells like you're walking into Bath and Body Works. So they somehow feel like it's not as bad for them. So we really are trying to educate students, have our SRO come in and through our mental health things that we are teaching K through 12. Because we strongly feel if we're reacting to it, we're kind of chasing it and we're on the tail end of things. And Jordan, I can turn it over to you now.
Thanks, Angie. That was a really great way to explain it. Everything that, it might seem like your child might think that everyone's vaping, but in all reality, only 33% of youth are vaping in North Dakota. So, you know, it's very different than the different tobacco products that you as an adult might have had growing up. But we do have young people in the middle and high schools that are doing peer-to-peer education during days like Red Ribbon Week, Great American Smokeout, and just trying to educate their peers about the dangers of vaping and other tobacco products. Another thing that we have in the schools, in the middle and high schools, is we have school nurses that are trained certified tobacco treatment specialists that will help students with quitting vaping. And then we also have a program called My Life, My Quit that is a free program offered throughout the state of North Dakota where students can go online or text in and talk to a tobacco treatment specialist that's in North Dakota and get help with quitting vaping as well, and other tobacco products too. So there's lots of options between the school and between the community of what's being done to try and actively prevent and educate young people, but also help them because there's a lot of nicotine in these vaping products. So we're finding kids are getting really addicted and might not quite understand what that is. And so we're just trying to make sure that they get help with quitting and just get everything figured out. So
One
really
last
great.
thing I would add too is for the parents on here, just to really help us talk with your child, because unfortunately at school we feel that you know, some of these vaping shops really target the youth. I mean, the advertising is pretty and it's cute and things like that, which is worrisome. That their audience appears to be even some of the underage kids in our community. So parents, if you can help us just talk to your kids and let them know, you know, how significant and harmful it is to your body.
Even if the product says 0 milligrams of nicotine, it's still really important to know that you have to be 21 years or older to purchase or possess it. We're finding that the products that say 0 milligrams of nicotine sometimes do actually have nicotine in them. And so youth might think that there's no nicotine, but in reality, there actually is. These products just aren't regulated. And so it's hard to know what is actually in the product compared to what's on the label. And some young people are also using marijuana in the vapes as well. So just to be aware of that too.
Thank you, Jordan.
I have one more question in the chat box that we're having problems with our daughter drinking every weekend. What can we do?
So there is there's actually a link you can click on that has behavioral health treatment services and it's a locator that will assist you finding the nearest treatment center for your daughter. And I'm going to enter that in the text box or in the chat box for people to see, and they can click on that. It's a great resource to locate which is the best treatment center for them. Or if they need an assessment, you can also, it does provide people to connect with if it's just an assessment or if it's treatment.
And to answer the other question in the chat box, is it illegal for them to use vape products under the age of 21? Yes, it is. In North Dakota, we have what's called a purchase, use, and possession law. So here it is illegal to purchase and use and possess a tobacco or vape product if you're under the age of 21. Great questions, everybody. And know too that you can always reach out to Bismarck-Burley Public Health or the Police Youth Bureau if you have any questions regarding substances, or you know, your school is a really great resource as well. You know, we really want our students to succeed, and It's really it takes a village to help them. So if no question's a dumb question. So we're always here to answer any questions you might have and to help you out and your child.
From a school standpoint, lastly, and maybe I shouldn't say it, but I am. and that, we have had parents call and say, hey, you know what, I found a vape in my kid's backpack, or I know my daughter went to a party this weekend. We are not here. That doesn't mean we are like, oh, okay, we're going to have to do a citation or suspension. I think we want everybody to feel like we are all here for the same purpose, on the same page. We just want to get your child help. So anything you can share if we're having concerns at school is helpful, because the end goal is we want everybody to be successful.
And there's another question in the chat box. It says, if we reach out for help, what are the consequences for parents bringing this to the authorities or others' attentions?
And I can try to respond to that. This is Travis. I wanted to kind of add to my previous comment, and I'm glad this question come about. There is always those obvious concerns on parents' behalf of, turning in their kid, or, oh my gosh, I'm getting them into more trouble, or whatever that concern may be. But, keep in mind, we're a resource for you. It's not our goal to charge your kids. It's not our goal to rack up citations on these kids. And whether that's your kids, the next kid, any kid in 10 years of age or older, yes, they are old enough to receive a legal citation for their actions. But if we can try to prevent that, or we can try to prevent them from going further into the system, like, all of a sudden, if we don't get our hands on them, what's worst case scenario? Their use continues, or now all of a sudden they're, drinking and driving, or drinking and drugging, those types of things. We would certainly encourage you to seek assistance, whether that's from our office or somebody else here in the community. But when a juvenile receives a citation, or they come and work with us, any record or file that we have on your child is destroyed when they turn 18 years of age. So again, I think that's always important to remind parents of, is we're not here to, quote unquote, start a record for these kids, but, we want to get them, the services that not only they need, or that will obviously help, but certainly hold them accountable. I think that's a lot of people's goal, and some people struggle with that because some kids are just defiant or doing their own thing. So we want to, help parents in regards to holding your kids accountable, and hopefully getting them either clean or leading, a productive lifestyle, whatever it may be. But it's not our goal to cite and rack up a thick old file on these kids. So.
Thank you, Travis. I see another question in the chat box. It says, who's responsible for paying the citations? Parents? Or if parents, how does that help your kid learn? So whose responsibility is it for the citations if a juvenile has one?
Well, and here's the thing, in regards to citations, there are many juvenile citations where there are not fines. Technically fines come about when there are like traffic violations, or municipal type citations. So yes, tobacco is one of them in our community. That is a finable offense. And, obviously we want to do whatever we can to hold that child accountable of paying that fine or that fee, but ultimately, again, we as parents, we do, we are ultimately responsible. But the thing is if the child is, just defiant or choosing not to pay it or whatever it is, reach out to us. We might be able to help, develop a battle plan, and, get this kid not only accountable for what he deserves or he or she deserves, but, that this doesn't fall back on the parent. Again, that's not our goal, but, again, if it does come down to it, we are the ones who are in charge of our juvenile son or daughter. So yes, it can fall on us, but in most situations, luckily there are no fines. But it seems like tobacco is one of the biggest ones that continues to carry a fine amount. So
Yeah, this is Lieutenant Gardner again, just to, about most of the juvenile. So when we say juvenile citation, it's not like a citation for speeding. Most of the citation that a juvenile gets doesn't carry a fine with it unless it is adjudicated by a judge or there's some sort of restitution for damage to property. The caveat to that is if a juvenile between the ages of 14 and 17 is found with nicotine products, vape products, that sort of thing, it does come with a $70 fine, and they also have to attend a tobacco class. So a lot of times, I guess my point is that that's basically the only time there's going to be a fine associated with a juvenile citation is when it comes to tobacco. Now the other stuff like restitution and that sort of thing that would come down from the courts. So what I'm getting at is if there's a fine, it should be paid, whether if that's by a parent or a kid, but the parent can ultimately hold the kid responsible and get that $70 from them or make them pay it if they have a job and that sort of thing. So that would be my recommendation, is to hold their feet to the fire and make them pay the citation. And if they don't have enough money at the time that it's due, then the parent pays the citation and then gets the reimbursement from the kid.
Great questions, everyone. If there's not any more questions, we'll keep moving through.
Important steps to prevent underage drinking and substance use. One key component is open communication. You want to talk openly and honestly with your children about this topic. And your household expectations is one of the most effective ways to prevent substance use in your child. Make sure you monitor where their whereabouts are. What are they doing? Who are they with? You want to monitor their cell phone and their social media accounts. And also set very clear boundaries. They need to know where you stand on this issue and what your expectations are. And we put together a parent toolkit with a variety of resources such as Parents Lead conversation starters, communicating with your child when you suspect substance use, signs and symptoms, NDSU extensions, a parent's role in substance use prevention, the Police Youth Bureau brochure, a fact sheet on electronic nicotine delivery devices, and the resources for quitting tobacco, My Life, My Quit. We can mail this parent toolkit to your home. At the end of the webinar, there'll be a short survey where you can insert your contact information. We will pause again to see if there's any additional questions. I don't see any at this time.
We appreciate you all taking time to attend the Hidden in Plain Sight event. There will be a short survey when you exit the webinar to provide feedback. Thank you for attending this evening.